Yeah, 161, great to make the hook up there, Matt. Yeah, Matt, J. Juliet Alpha Yankee was my name for your further information.
Hello, this is CBRadioMagazine.com, and I'm excited to show you guys the new President Lincoln 2. I showed you the new President Grant 2 just recently, and the Lincoln 2 is a little bit of a step up in terms of features. The radios are definitely being tiered towards two different audiences for marketing, but Lincoln 2, very cool. Lots of new features on it, and we'll go through all of those for you, of course. It just came out, released in Europe. It isn't currently going to be distributed in the United States, but I'm sure you guys will figure out how to get them over here. Size-wise, the radio, let's see if I can throw the Grant 2 on top here. You'll see the Grant 2 comes out on the edges a little bit more. So it's a little bit wider. It uses that unit in 980 casing. It's also its height. So the height on the Grant 2 is going to be taller. It would be a little difficult to DIN mount the Grant 2 unless you had a larger DIN slot. The Lincoln 2 is actually going to be a little bit easier fit, more like the CRE 8900. In terms of the depth of the radio, the Lincoln 2, of course, is going to be a little bit deeper because it has a heatsink on it. It's a dual final radio, whereas the President Grant 2 was a single final, so it didn't require the heatsink on the back. Let's go through the features. I know you guys are itching to see all this stuff, and I'll point out the obvious ones first of all. We've got volume here, on-off as well. RF power in the middle, control your power output. Squelch. This also has the automatic squelch feature. If it's all the way counterclockwise, it will automatically initiate that in AM and FM modes. Up here we've got mic gain on the inside, RF gain on the outside. Clarifier. It's receive only, not unlocked, but you don't need it to be unlocked because you can change the increments on this radio for tuning steps. Channel selection knob here actually changes your frequency, and I'll talk about the channel step real quick here. You can see there's a little line underneath it, very much like the original Lincoln, and so you can change the tuning steps on it. So that's why you shouldn't really need to unlock the clarifier in this sense. Going through the buttons, we've got a memory function here where you can store and access your memory frequencies. The menu takes you into a whole lot of menu options, much like the Anytone and CRE radios. Channel up, channel down features here, and those also work within the menu for certain things. Over on the left hand side we've got a scan feature, dual watch, and these are the secondary functions. So if you hold the button in, it goes to the secondary function. Scan through the band, dual watch. We've got a noise blank ANL and a high cut feature. Echo set, you can set the time and delay. Roger beep, and also a ketone beep. If you press any button on the radio, it beeps. If you turn it off, it's just silent. Roger beep, you can actually adjust the tone and delay, much like the CRE 8900. CH channel 19 and 9, automatic quick button just to go through those ones. There's also a lock feature here. There's an indicator here where you can go through and show what you want to show, voltage or SWR here when you're transmitting, or you can show the frequency, the call function, so you can press it to send a tone burst. Split frequency setup here. This radio does have split frequencies. You can hold it down, secondary function to set them. Mode button to go through AM, FM, lower sideband, and then your CTC, SS, and DCS tones for repeaters. Band, this is to jump through the different frequency banks to go from down low all the way up into the 10 meter band. In expanded mode, it's going to give you that ability. This radio has the ability to be opened up for additional frequencies. 10 kilohertz jump there. Vox on here, so it does have a voice activated ability on it where you can just not have to key up and your voice will activate the radio for transmit. So that's a real quick overview of these, and I'm going to go into them in a little bit more detail now. I'll go into the scan function, all of these, and go through all of them, and then eventually we'll get to the menu features to show you all of those. A lot to cover, so I just wanted to give you the basics before we got too far into it. I'll show you the back of the radio real quick as well, and then we'll start to get into all the functions and show you what this radio can do. Alright, here's the back of the radio on the President Lincoln 2. Your antenna connection here. Your Vox plug here. This is if you want to use a external Vox microphone, not the stock one. You can use aftermarket ones. CW key here if you want to do a little Morse code. There's a data connection port here. As of right now, the radio is not set up to be PC programmable. At least there's no software available yet. that I'm aware of. It might be used for updates, might be used for software programming, might be used for control. Who knows? Don't know at this point. External speaker jack, PA jack here. It's actually kind of cool. So many radios nowadays with these newer style digital radios, they don't have the PA. I still like to be able to have that just for fun or whatever. But right below, 3-pin power jack, big heatsink, dual final radio. Radio's gonna be doing about 30 watts from the factory. Okay, so this is the microphone for the President Lincoln 2. Same microphone they have on the President Grant 2. It's not quite a full-size microphone. You can see in my hand it's a little bit smaller than a standard larger microphone, but it fits in the hand well. It's not quite as small as the little ones that were on like the Magnum 257s and stuff. Up-down frequency changing buttons on the top. These work quite well. You can change the frequencies on the radio very easily. Microphone works pretty well for stock microphone, and actually worked quite well on the Vox voice activated feature as well. That's the microphone. Alright, let's start attacking some of the functions on this radio. It's going to take a little while to go through all of these, but bear with me. First thing I want to show you is on the volume control. As we actually turn the volume, you can see it's actually scaled. Goes all the way up to 36. So if you know that your listening level that you like to listen to is at 10, you can just set it to 10 every time. You don't have to try and put it on a certain mark. You could actually say, okay, 10's where I like it, right there. That's my favorite listening level. So you can set it to volume level of 10. It goes away after just a second. RF power is not affected like that. Would have been nice to actually have that set up the same way. It'd be kind of cool to be able to set your dead key at 1 watt and know that on the RF power that was 5 on the scale, but it's not set up the same way, as you can see. Squelch button, squelch knob. If we turn it, it does act the same way as the volume control does. And it'll go back now. There. The microphone gain does the same thing as well. You can see the microphone gain scale there. And that one will disappear in a second. RF gain, same thing as well. The clarifier, and we'll change, does not affect it. So the main buttons that you'll see that scale on the display will be the volume, the squelch, RF gain, and the microphone gain. Let's jump into the memory functions. I'll show you guys those. Basically, this radio has 6 memory functions. On your memory frequencies, you've got a memory button and a store button. So currently, let's say we're up on this frequency and we want to go to our first stored memory frequency. We've already stored them. Press the memory button once, it takes us to our first selection, which is memory channel 1. And it's 27385, and you'll see here it's lower sideband. Let's go to our second selection. You use the up-down channel selection buttons here. Takes you to our second memory channel. If we hit it again, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and back to 1. So now let's say we want to set, so we're out of this, and we want to set a frequency. So let's say we want to set 555 lower sideband as a memory in our 3rd slot position. So what we do is we hold down the memory store button and it goes into this mode. We use the channel changing knob to go to the memory 3 position. We push it and hold it back in. And now, so we're back in regular mode, we press memory mode. You'll see that in the N1 position we have the 385 lower sideband. We have AM on channel 6 here and 27555 lower sideband up here. So it does save the mode and the location, and again you can do up to 6 different frequencies. I'm just going to show you the next feature I'm going to go to is going to be the scan feature. So if you're in memory mode and you press the scan feature on, it'll scan through your memory frequencies. And again, anywhere in the band, so you could do CB frequencies, free band, and 10 meter, and it'll scan them all on here. So that's pretty cool. Press the scan button to stop, and we can press the memory button again just to go back to standard mode. Scan feature over on the left hand side, I just showed you that, but basically you press the scan feature, start scanning the frequency. It's currently in band B. goes up to the 40. Stop starts again. It's currently scanning up. You can hit the channel button over here and it'll start scanning down. The dual watch is a secondary function under the scan. If you hold the button in, it goes into dual watch mode. Right now it's set to channel 272050, so it'll scan in between your current frequency and the other frequency. It remembers mode in the dual watch mode. The dual watch frequency, to set it, you actually have to go in the menu, and I'll show you that shortly. Alright, now noise blank ANL, as you can see, they are shown across the top. Noise blank ANL goes off, noise blank ANL, and off again. If we hold that in, you'll see the high cut over here. High cut function, noise blank ANL. Noise blank ANL high cut on this radio work very similar to the CRE. The radio is actually kind of similar in noise, receive wise and everything else, which is fairly good for the CRE, so I'm impressed with it in that sense, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. Echo and echo set. If you hold in the echo button, it takes you to the echo set, so you can control the delay there. You can also control the time. So two functions for your echo that you'd normally get on a radio, time and delay. You can set both of those. You can turn the echo on and off by just pressing once. Roger beep. Press it once, Roger beep on. Press second time, Roger beep gone. Key beep. Hold this one in. Anytime you press anything on the radio, makes the key beep. It's nice that you can turn that off. Channel 919. Press that, 19, 9, back to your regular frequency. Pretty obvious. Hold it in for the lock feature. Lock, can't do anything. There we go. Indicator function here. You can press it once and it'll show the 15 volt DC that the radio is getting, or whatever your current power is on the DC voltage. If you hold it in while you're transmitting, you can choose in between. If you press it while you're transmitting, you can choose in between the SRF meter, SWR, or showing the voltage. So you get to choose what you want. If you hold it in, it sends out a tone burst on the call frequency. Old school repeaters, I guess. In that sense, splits, you can set up your splits on this radio. The split frequency is something that a lot of the radios didn't have, and so it's kind of cool they do have it on here, very much like the 2950. For the split frequency option, when you press split, it says split frequencies on. Press it again, split frequency off. When you actually are in the actual mode transmitting, it'll be flashing. If we hold it in to set the split frequency, in the frequency you can set the offset here. This is actually pretty cool because it shows the frequency and the amount of the offset. I know on some radios it just shows the offset, so it's it's nice to be able to see that. It also gives you the option positive, negative, up or down on your offset. So that's your split frequencies. Hopefully you guys understand what those are. If you don't, you may just want to look it up on the ham radio sites. The band. If you have expanded this radio, this will take you through all the different frequency bands. It goes all the way up to J and then back to A. If you have not unlocked the radio, it'll be in the 10 meter and it'll alternate between two bands in the 10 meter. Two different banks of frequencies there. 10 kilohertz function, hold that in, goes up 10 kilohertz and back. Mode button. You can see here AM, FM, upper sideband, lower sideband. Sorry, it's being displayed over here if you're having trouble following. CW mode, PA, back to normal. In the PA mode, you'll notice here, that's actually the volume level and it's controlled by the mic gain. So if you do plug in a PA function, you want to hear yourself talk, or you're going to run a loudspeaker in the car or whatever, you might want to turn this down a little bit before you plug it in because it's quite loud. So there you go. And back to frequencies. All right. Vox set, Vox feature, turns on the voice activated feature. Hold it in. We can go into our sensitivity, anti-Vox, and delay. Sensitivity is obviously how sensitive it is when it picks up the signal, so you can adjust that. Anti-Vox is so that the voice is coming back through the speaker when you're talking to someone. Don't set it off. and the delay is the amount of delay after you stop in between when you stop talking and when it unkeys. So that's how the voice activated feature works for those of you guys who aren't familiar with that. So that's all the buttons pretty much. The only one we haven't touched on is the menu functions, and that's going to take a while to go through. So I'm actually going to make a separate video for that, just so this one doesn't run too long. We've got a 6-pin microphone connection here, and I'm going to pop the cover, show you guys the inside on this video, just to show you where the modification locations are, and then definitely check out the menu functions, and we'll show this radio in some different colors and stuff, the display and all the rest of the features. We're going to show you a couple different views of the inside, but right now we're looking towards the back of the radio, and as you can see, lots of coils in here, dual finals. You can see the shielding as well here, which is nice to see. The tuning points, again, surface mount technology. They are very small in here. But they are labeled, so you can see exactly your single sideband power here, AM power adjustment here. Your AM modulation is actually going to be up here on the board by itself. So they're all labeled and easy enough to find if you want to mess around with them. From the factory, the radio does 30 watts on sideband. Has a very clear, clean sound to it, so you know, mess around with it at your own risk. You may not need to really do anything to this radio to have it sound pretty good on the air. Okay, this is looking towards the front of the radio, and I apologize, the light in here isn't that great tonight. Had a light bulb burn out, so it's a little bit darker in here, but if you look towards the front, you should be able to see there's a little white wire here, and it comes off the front of the board, and it has been cut, and cutting that white wire does open up the radio on the frequencies. Yeah, and basically you guys know what that does. Really not anything else in here you're going to want to mess with. Basically the adjustment points, frequency modification, that's just about it. So very nice looking radio inside, very clean these days with the surface mount technology. They used really nice wire back here for the coils. It's very heavy duty and strong, so they really did good build quality on this radio, at least from what I can tell from looking inside. It just looks very clean. Very last thing I'm going to discuss in the video here, it was just one last thought that I did notice in the operation of the radio. The radio doesn't like cold weather a whole lot. It takes about 15 minutes to warm up on frequency when it's quite cold, I guess you could say. It was more about, I guess about 12 to 15. The one thing I did notice is the display. This particular LCD that they used on this is a little bit slow to come on in terms of all of the items on it showing up correctly. So if you are in cold temperatures with this radio on the display, it can take a little while for everything to show up until it warms up. And it's not uncommon for this to happen in radios. I had it happen with the 2950DX last winter. Got cold enough where I had a slow display and it took quite a while for it to come back on. So, you know, it's just real cold weather right now, as most of you guys know. But I just wanted to mention that. Other than that, I mean, once it's warmed up and on frequency, it is solid. So no drift or anything. Inside as a base, you know, obviously you wouldn't run into any problems at all. But I just thought I'd mention that just to make sure, to give the full disclosure on the radio.
President Lincoln 2 audio test. President Lincoln 2 audio test. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 audio test. Stock microphone. Microphone gain at maximum. Receiving on the President Grant 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 audio test.
Alright guys, to wrap up the video here, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my first thoughts on the radio after using it for a week. The display, first of all, I changed the color for you. It's actually darker than it appears in the video. The contrast on the camera is a little bit light. It's quite easy to read, very good display at night, and even during the day it was very easy to see. The radio from the factory output about 30 watts on single sideband, 10 AM with a swing to about 20 watts. I'm sure you could tune it up for a little bit more swing. Definitely swings better than the CRE 8900 did initially, and it does have a little more swing, obviously in power, than the Grant 2 is. That's a single final radio. The FM outputs 30 watts as well. Audio quality on AM and FM is very good. It's not going to be a screamer on AM Magnum Galaxy style, but it's very good audio. It's clear, has a little bit of a punch to it, so it's very nice, even with the stock microphone. Single-sideband audio quality is very good. It's a little bit less processed sounding than the Grant 2. Lincoln 2, much more natural, sounds very good. A little bit better in terms of audio quality even than the CRE 8900, which impressed me. So in terms of how you're going to sound on the air, I don't think you have any worries with this radio. The receiver on this radio is very good as well, very comparable to the CRE 8900 in sound and the ability to pick up stations out in the distance. I will say the Grant 2, after testing between the Lincoln 2 and the Grant 2 has a little bit better receiver on it. It's actually a little bit quieter and easy to hear some of those really far off stations that are barely moving the needle. Just a little bit better receiver. It's a little easier on the ears. The Lincoln 2, again, it's very similar to the CRE 8900, which is one of my favorite radios recently. So it definitely is no problem at all on the receive, but it does have a little bit of that background noise, kind of like, you know, the old 2950 issue with a little bit of that staticky noise. And that's something we ran into on the CRE 8900 as well. And initially you might go, it's a little staticky sounding, but you get used to it very quickly, and it's not really anything to be worried about. So I don't really want to overemphasize it at all here. I'm just mentioning it, but there definitely is a little bit of background noise. The Grant 2 is really, really quiet, so it does have a little bit better receiver on the Grant 2. So overall, very nice layout on the radio, very nice controls, very easy to see, small size, good output, excellent audio on the air. I'm going to jump into the menu functions on a whole separate video here, so hopefully it's giving you a good look at this radio initially, and what we'll do is we'll post up a full written review with all the information, features, links to the manual, stuff like that for you. So hope you enjoyed it. President Lincoln 2, cbradiomagazine.com.